Good day, folks. What's going on? It's late. It's midnight. Hi, wife. Hi, Emma's here because we want to address what happened with Max, but I don't want to do it publicly. I don't really want this information going anywhere but here. You guys are the guys I trust. But as you know, some of you know that something definitely happened with Max. We needed a day away from things. Max needed his adenoids taken out, which are like throat bollocks. What do they even do? I don't really know. But he was snoring at his age, which he shouldn't do. Shouldn't snore. So they said he's got large adenoids. And also he had something called glue ear, which is a lot of liquid in his ear canal. So they were going to put grommets in as well, which just make the tube wider so this liquid can get out. Very routine, very bog standard operation. Like 40 minutes in and out is what they're aiming for. So we weren't worried about it. We were more worried about how Max would react to having to be knocked out, because he had to be knocked out for it. And, you know, sorting that out. So we've been for his pre-check a few weeks ago, like three weeks ago? About 5 weeks ago, where they did all the pre-checks, and the staff were great. They went through this, like, colouring book, essentially, of all the things that were going to happen to him, and they made it out like a game. So they said they're going to put some special cream on, which will make your hand feel tingly, and then we're going to put a Spider-Man shooter in that you can play with, which is a cannula. So you'll have Spider-Man shooters, and you get to play with a lot of toys and the iPad and all that. And they did it well, so he was like excited almost about going. On Wednesday, we got a call to say the operation was going to be on Thursday. That's how it goes. Like a cancellation had come up. So Wednesday they called to say, right, you can come in tomorrow morning. It was like, Jesus Christ, which sucked. Because Wednesday night was also the Infinity War release, which we had midnight release tickets for. We had them for months. And but on balance, it was like, it's going to be a routine standard operation. Of course I want to be there. But because it's not a big deal, it should be fine, even though we'll be tired. So the movie finished at like 3. I came home and obviously was full of sugar. So I watched a bit of a tablet till 3:30. And then a couple of hours later, we were up again to get ready for going to the hospital. So we had to be in super early. So you took the car, and then I took a taxi to take James to nursery, and then carried the taxi onto the hospital. And when we got there, we met a lovely girl called Laura. Really nice. And her entire job is just to make the kids feel happy and to prepare them and stuff. So they showed him the colouring book again. They gave me special cream. She got out a cannula that he could play with a syringe in it. So he was squirting me and squirting Emma with water. These are his Spider-Man shooters and all this kind of stuff. And eventually we then met with the doctors who were going to do the operation. And it went well up until that point. So the way it works is only one of you is allowed to be with the child. So there's 2 things you need to do. One is where they go and get knocked out, and the other one is the recovery after the operation. So Emma didn't want to see him get knocked out, which is understandable. So I was going to go down and do that, and then Emma would go down in recovery after the operation to bring him back. So this Laura brought him choo-choos and airplanes and cars and all kinds of stuff. He was having a really good time. And eventually it was time to go down. So down he goes, I go with him. And I had to sit him on my knee while he faces that way and put his arm through my arm. And behind me, they were going to put the cannula in. So they could then give him the juice and the anesthetics and stuff to knock him out. And they couldn't find a vein at first, but then they swapped over and they found a vein. And they got the cannula in, and then they lay him down on the bed. So he's laid down, he's got his iPad, and he's playing games, and he's all happy. And they got the juice out, this milky-looking stuff. It freaked me the fuck out because they injected it. 2 seconds, he was out. He was gone. Like, that fast. And I was like, oh, shit, that stuff is really scary. Because you think, you know, you've seen the movie where they get, they get a needle in the neck and they're like, oh, and try and fight it and all that. No, that ain't the reality, boys. If you get this shit in you, you're fucked. You are gone. So 2 seconds, he just went, and he was gone. It was then a bit of a rush. Obviously, he's unconscious now. We need to get started with the operation. So they said, give him a kiss. I gave him a kiss on the head, and basically they kicked me out to get started. So we went for breakfast, didn't we? Mm-hmm. And then went back to the room. And about 40 minutes later, as they said, the nurse came in and said, okay, he's done. Everything went well. In fact, he was the best patient ever, was the message we got. He was wonderful. You know, we wish we could get kids like that all the time. Go and get him. So Emma went down into recovery and came back with him, and he was still asleep. And the nurse told us some kids wake up within 15 minutes, some wake up in about an hour. Just let him sleep. It's going to be fine. But everything went wonderfully. Can't complain. But you will be here for a minimum of 4 hours, maybe longer. Minimum of 4 hours, maybe longer, just to check he's eating, he's drinking, all those kind of things. So Emma said, you might as well get off and go and get some work done. Not need two of us to sit here for 4 hours. You know what I mean? We can, one of us has just got to sit here with a sleeping child in the room. So I came back, which is when you saw me come back on Andy's stream on Thursday. I came back home. I said, everything's fine. All good. And I came and sat here to start some work. And about 2 minutes after that, you text me to say his oxygen's dropped a little bit, so they're giving him oxygen. And he'd swiped it off his face, right? He tried to swipe it off his face. So that means he's got some semblance of what's going on. So Emma had lay next to him and was holding the oxygen on his face. It was about 2 minutes after that I got a phone call off Emma, which was a bit more concerning, saying his stats are still dropping and he was turning, what colour? Red?
Yeah.
He was turning red. Something wasn't right. And I needed to come back. I was like, uh-oh. Not good. So I just said to Andy, something's wrong, I've got to go. Okay. So back in the car. As I was just getting in the car, the phone went again. And this time Emma's crying her eyes out really badly. Saying they can't wake him up. And where am I? I'm nearly here. I was like, I've only had a minute. And she was crying, saying they can't wake him up. So I'm on my way. About 30 seconds after that, I got another phone call where I can hear Emma is in pieces. And you'd come out of the room, right? Because you couldn't watch what was happening. And I'll tell you what was happening in a minute, but she'd come out of the room. And then a nurse took the phone off her and said, is this Dad? I said, yeah. And she said, okay, look, something's happened with Max. Emma's very upset. You need to get here as fast as possible. Please drive safely. So I'm in a bit of a blur at this point. I'm in the car, I'm going. And then another 2 minutes or so passes, maybe a bit longer. And I'm nearly there. I remember being right near the hospital when the phone went again, and it was Emma, but much calmer, but vacant. So you must have been like exhausted after what you'd just been through. Basically saying they've woken him up. I was like, oh my God, thank God for that. They've woken him up. And it felt to me like some minor panic had occurred, but nothing too major. And I remember during the conversation, it was like, yeah, he's awake now. I said, did you even want me to come? Because, like sometimes there's a panic situation where it turns out to be not a big deal. It felt like that. So I was like, do you even still want me to come up? And she was like, yeah, come up. But it was very like laissez-faire. It was very nonchalant. But I think that was just out of exhaustion. When I got there was doctors in the room. And that's when I found out what had actually happened, is that Max had turned purple, and he'd kind of opened his eyes, but there was nothing there. Like, his eyes were open, but there was no pupil response. He wasn't looking at anything, wasn't responding to anything. And then his eyes had rolled back into his head, and he kind of just passed out again, which shouldn't happen. And the doctor's notes, which we read, said they were being extremely rough with him, basically giving him CPR. The resource kit was in the room when I got there and screaming his name to bring him around. And he just wasn't. He was gone. He was absolutely gone. And Emma said it looked like he was dying because he was turning purple. There was no response. He was totally, completely lifeless. That's why she just had to get out of there, because she was basically watching her son die. And we later found out he was nearly dead. And the whole doctor department, I mean, you said there was like 10 people in there?
Yeah, they all just came from everywhere.
Yeah, they hit the holy shit button, and all these doctors and stuff piled in. And they was shouting at him. They were, getting him going somehow, like getting his heart going. And at some point he'd woken up, but still wasn't quite there, but his eyes had opened. And in the room when I went in, Emma's got an oxygen mask over him. They're trying to figure out what the hell just happened. That's what they're trying to figure out. Like, so the doctors who were there at the time weren't the people who did the procedure. I assume they were still in surgery. These are the people who had arrived after the holy shit button, and they were going through the notes trying to figure out what the fuck had just happened, because it shouldn't have happened. And I started playing with his feet and stuff like that, and then he said a word, which everyone kind of went, oh, thank God. Because obviously they thought maybe he's brain dead.
Yeah. He couldn't respond, could he? He couldn't move.
He couldn't move, and he spoke. And then I think he, like 4 words later, said, I want the iPad.
I want to paint.
I want to paint. I want the iPad. And then we all kind of went, oh, thank God for that. Because he was like, his brain was coming back into action. He was like, I want the iPad to play games. And everyone was like, oh, thank God. But he didn't understand what had happened or anything. So that was the event that happened. What went on from there, it gets weird, and this is why there is an investigation going on, because there's been mistakes across the board here. Quite a lot of mistakes from what we found out over the next few hours, because we met up with doctors, including the ones who had done the operation and the anesthesiologists, and the answers they gave to us as to what it potentially was were really starting to get weird, because they were just so blatantly false over and over again. Like, at one point they called him chubby. It's one of the skinniest kids I've ever seen. Like, he's so fucking wiry from all the gymnastics and swimming and all that he does, that it was just like, chubby? That doesn't make any sense. You know, stuff like that as to delay the reactions and all that. And what we've gathered, like I say, I have to be careful what we say, because they are looking into this and it might have legal ramifications. We don't know. It just looks like either a miscommunication or something went wrong with the order of events when he was in surgery. It looks like he got multiple doses of morphine which weren't registered. So whether or not someone said he needs to get more morphine, and they did it, but then didn't realize they'd done it and gave him yet another one. So what essentially happened is, when he came out of recovery and came back up to his room, his body shut down again from a morphine overdose, essentially. Is what it looks like, and that's what it kicked off the whole thing. And they gave him some drugs that reverse the effects. Essentially, they reverse the effects of morphine, which brought him back round, because Emma was terrified of going to sleep in case it happened again, because we weren't getting a clear answer as to why it happened in the first place. So what you can imagine is Emma going, well, I'm not going to sleep, because what if this happens again? And we kept being told, because they had to be very careful about what they were saying, because they knew something had gone wrong, but they knew it wasn't going to happen again. So they kept saying, look, there's definitely nothing that's going to happen to him.
Yeah,
we know that.
Definitely not going to happen. I was like, well, how do you know?
Yeah, how do you know?
You don't know what caused it.
Yeah, you're telling us you're not sure what's caused it, but you're definitely sure it's not going to happen again, like 100%, and without question. It was very, very weird, as it seemed like people were trying to cover the backsides and all this kind of stuff, like, don't drop us in it. Well, either way, that's what went down. And we finally got him home late the next day, because
he was on oxygen, in and out of consciousness all that day.
Yeah, he was just drifting in and out on oxygen. Eventually, he did start feeling groggy and sick, which is a good sign, because it means the drugs are leaving his system, and he's starting to come around properly. And he's pretty normal now. I mean, he's got the sores and stuff because of the surgery itself, which is what you'd expect to see. But what a horrific experience it was. Because then I had to go and deal with James and come back, and you're waiting, like, if there were going to be a phone call or something, is something gone wrong, all that kind of stuff, because we were still not sure exactly what had happened at that point. So I had to come back here with James, and we had to stay at the hospital, which we should have been home that afternoon. It was the plan, but you end up staying overnight until way into the next day. It wasn't until like 4 o'clock. In fact, it was, because it was doing drama. I was supposed to be doing drama, and you called me, I think it was about 3:10 or something, to go and pick you up. And that's what went down. And so, I mean, we were just wiped out, because we've had the stuff with Ben recently, and then this. So we went away last night, didn't we? We only went 20 minutes down the road and stayed in the shittiest hotel, which is a whole other story in itself, but I'll save that for the stream. But like I said, I don't really want this going out in public, but I wanted to let you know exactly what happened, because some of you are so intertwined with our lives, because there's a camera in our house constantly, so you obviously saw something was going on. But I trust you to not make a big fuss out of it, because he's fine now. He's fine. He's just recovering now. Yeah, he's just recovering.
I can't remember any of it.
No, he can't remember any of it. In fact, when he's overheard conversations going on, he came up and asked me. He went, "Daddy?" And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "My eyes didn't come out, did they? And they put them back." And I went, "What?" I said, "Mummy said my eyes came out and the doctors put my eyes back in." I went, "No, your eyes rolled backwards." And I showed him what that looks like. I was like, "It just means your eyes went up while you were asleep."
He heard me complaining.
Yeah. So he thought that his eyes had popped out and they put his eyes back in. So that's the only thing he seems to know has happened. And he kept telling me, he was like, "I didn't wake up." And I was like, "No, but you did now, didn't you? You're awake now." And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, that's good." And he missed his brother massively, didn't he? It was really nice to see. Yeah, like, I want my James.
I want to see James.
So that was really nice to see, because both of them knew something had gone wrong, and Max was poorly. James kept telling me, I'm not poorly in the hospital. I'm not poorly, Daddy. So why are we at hospital kind of thing. But they played together like madmen, didn't they? Once they were like
Yeah,
reunited
got
at home.
great together.
Yeah, once they got back together, they just played madly together,
Kissing
which is
each other and cuddles.
yeah, it was really good to see. But there you go. That's what happened, guys. So now you know. Bit shit. We feel better though. We had a nice sleep last night, didn't we?
Yeah.
Now it's midnight and we're here recording videos.
You still can't rest though, can you? Like, you.
Is he in our bed now?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's currently asleep. Am I on the couch?
maybe.
Oh, I want to go to bed. But there you go. All right, guys. Thank you very much. And I'll see you again shortly, actually, because now we can get back to doing some normal work. And we've got our cloaks have arrived, I believe.
Have they?
Yeah, the ones you... Yeah, they're here. For our next big video, our props have arrived. So you can enjoy that. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Be good. Enjoy the Infinity War bit. It's got something about Max's dick in it.
What?
Bye-bye.